Hello, welcome to Tech Tuesday. My name is Abby Ritchie, and I'm here every Tuesday interviewing innovators in senior living technology. I'm going to go ahead and introduce my guests in just 1 minute, but before I do that, I want to go ahead and play the intro. Welcome back. Today, I want to invite a special guest on. We have the leader of marketing, Michelle Wright from Caavo, with us today to talk about resident engagement as well as family engagement. Welcome, Michelle.
Hi, Abby. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, me too. Like I was telling you just a little bit ago, I have a soft spot in my heart for Caavo. It was one of my first interviews I did on the platform. And so anytime I'm able to shed more light and understanding about the great things that you guys are doing, it makes me really happy to do that. So tell me, Michelle, about your role at Caavo, please.
Right. So as you mentioned, I lead marketing for Caavo.
Mm-hmm.
And so that kind of runs the gamut, right? From deciding how we talk about Caavo, the product itself, and the value that it brings to staff, families, residents. And then because we're a startup, I am involved in all sorts of things like helping with the product UI and developing training manuals and sort of, my husband likes to joke, like basically anything with words you seem to be touching around this place. So it's a lot of things, and it's basically just sort of like trying to tell the world about Caavo and what we do and what value we bring to senior living communities.
So because you specialize in this, tell us about how you explain Caavo.
So Caavo uses the TVs in resident rooms to save staff time and increase resident engagement. So I have a little show and tell. This little box right here connects to every resident's TV, and it allows staff and families to reach residents directly on their TV. So what does that look like? That's video calling to the TV. It's OK checks that can turn on the TV if it's off, reminders, community-wide announcements, assistance requests, all that stuff right on the TV. So I like to think about the value kind of from the perspective of staff, families, and residents, right? Mm-hmm. So for staff, it's delivering personalized care more efficiently by streamlining communication, right? Especially compared to some of the more manual processes that might be in place today. I like one of our communities was talking to me about fire alarm. So with Caavo, they were able to remind the residents that morning, pop up a little message on the TV, we're going to have a fire alarm today at 2 p.m. It's just a drill, stay in your room. Yeah. And then while the fire alarm was going off, they were able to pop up a message on the TV, fire alarm, this is just a drill, please stay in your room. And then when it was cleared, all clear. But they can, instead of knocking on every resident's door or calling every resident in their room, they can, send one message and it blasts out to all the resident TVs. And then the result for residents is they feel way more engaged and like ownership, right? Like they're a part of this community and they know what's going on. And then there's also the piece for families, right? So as part of when we send that message to the TV, we can actually also notify the family. So they'll get a text message that says, hey, fire alarm happening at 2 p.m. So again, a great way to keep families connected. And then also allowing families to help support some caregiving tasks, even if they don't live locally. So they can use our Caavo app to do things like video call and send family photos and set up reminders and even control the TV remotely. So, a community who puts this in is really saying like, we are committed to transparency and we want families to be a partner here, right?
Yeah, I think that's huge. I definitely do want to talk about how to engage families with Caavo, but I want to back up just a minute to something else you said about um, using Caavo for these like fire alarm notices, for instance, and on just checkups, make sure that residents are doing okay. I have been at communities before where I might be working one-on-one with a resident in their apartment, and then they get the phone call, oh yeah, this is Jenny from the front desk, just checking that you're okay. And it's happened so many times that, I've been working with someone, regardless of the community that I'm at, where they get the phone call and then there's the subsequent story about how someone wasn't called and someone wasn't checked on and so on. So I know how important it is to have that systemized and to make sure that a resident is okay.
Yeah.
And because they're looking at that big, huge screen, right, in their apartment, it's like one of the largest surfaces in their apartment. You're getting their attention right away.
Yeah. It's like AVOL, it's automated for the community. So like we like to set them right about Price is Right time in the morning, right? So it just automatically, it turns the TV on. So even if they don't have it on, turns it on to ensure that they see it. Like we see compliance rates they're almost 100%. Like it's kind of incredible. And they just, so the resident gets this, like my other show and tell is this simple universal remote. So all they do is press a button on the remote. I'm okay. Done. Yeah. Don't have to run across the room to try to catch the phone, so there's a little bit of a safety thing there too, right? They're probably already in the recliner and just pop button,
I love it. I love it. Yes, because a lot of people these days don't even answer their phone anymore because half the time, maybe more than half the time, it's a scam or spam call, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So it kind of eliminates all that, which is super nice.
And so if their TV isn't on, how are they notified?
So Caavo actually has the ability to control the power state of the TV, which is a unique patented technology that we have. So we will Caavo, because this box is plugged into the TV, it actually turns the TV on, pops that message up. And then we also have a chime that goes out. Like, so the TV speaker will make this little chime and it says, I think it's just like a little musical chime that happens. So they get sort of that audio visual cue.
I love it. So before we talk about engaging families, how do you engage staff with using Caavo? What have you found is a winning practice?
I think the one thing that has been most important for us is finding that sort of staff champion who's really into this technology. In a lot of our installs, it's been an executive director, but it also might be an activities, life enrichment type of person who sees value from this. Even maintenance really likes it. So having that staff advocate who also becomes kind of the super user, I rattled off a ton of features there, right? So like there's a lot here. So having somebody who really is willing to take the time to learn the technology and then sort of internalize, like, how can this be applied for our community specifically? And then willing to sort of partner with us and brainstorm. We can, as we talk about family engagement, I'll talk about some of the gamification stuff we've been doing at one of our communities, which was completely the idea of one of the staff people there as a way to help drive adoption of the technology among residents. So just having that individual has been huge.
That's great. And usually someone will rise from that, right? Because they have a natural inclination to figure things out and to learn it. And then everyone goes to that one person to get those questions answered. And I've found at several communities that they have resident councils in which there's a group of residents that are running the decisions that are being made and the issues that are coming up. Is that a similar way in which you are engaging residents?
Yeah, so that is another thing. We haven't done a ton of it, but it's definitely we've tried it in small doses of getting in front of that group and sort of explaining the benefits for them and getting their feedback, right? Like letting them feel like they're a part of this, and that similarly how we brainstorm with staff, it's like, how can you as a resident community benefit from this and use this technology?
So let's talk about resident engagement.
Mhm.
And because I know, the last couple of weeks we had the Evolve conference, and there was a lot of discussion about engaging residents and how residents can feel more involved. And so, how does Caavo fill that at various communities?
I think a lot of it is around the proactive communication piece.
Mhm.
Because this technology makes it so easy for staff to communicate, and it's not even all, it doesn't all have to be community wide communication. We really allow communication at a group level or even an individual level. So as I understand that, I have my bingo group or my gardening group, I can communicate with those people specifically. And we also have functionality where we have resident to resident communication ability.
Mhm.
That includes chat messaging between residents on the TV and video calling. Communities can opt to turn those features on or off. But those are great ways for the residents to stay engaged with one another. I was just talking to one of our communities about when residents come back from hospital and they may not be willing to or not able to accept in-person visitors yet,
Mhm.
be able to turn on resident to resident video calling so they can get a video call from a peer to really help them, stay connected to the community in that time when they might otherwise start feeling isolated.
Yeah, those are all great points. I was just thinking as you were talking about how staff members are able to do certain things like communicate to certain groups only, and it's reminding me of the obvious shortage that we're experiencing in senior living, in caregivers, and in staff. And this seems like an area that is going to be supporting a lot of staff members in order to systemize many things that can be done using Caavo. Is
Mhm.
that your goal as well?
Yeah, it definitely is. I was just talking to another leader, and she was talking about the staffing shortage and things like, okay, my mom really likes to watch the Cubs game at
Mhm.
7 p.m. And so the adult daughter calls the nurse and says, can you turn the game on for mom? But okay, we're down two nurses and like I've got these critical activities that need to happen. So unfortunately, turning the game on for mom like maybe drops lower on the priority list. But
Mhm.
with Caavo, we can actually set, so a family member, me as the adult daughter, I can actually use the app and pre-schedule Cubs game is going to be on ABC at 7 p.m. I can set Caavo to turn on the TV, turn to ABC at 7 p.m. I can do that for mom. She doesn't have to do anything. It automatically happens for her.
Yeah.
Super powerful. Mom feels taken care of, and then it's taking some of that load off of staff so they can focus on really that hands-on, most important caregiving that they need to take care of, and especially in these times of staffing shortages that don't really, there's no sort of sense of relief in sight, right? Like this is going
Mhm.
to be an ongoing problem. So they're going to have
Yeah.
to figure out how to use technology to kind of fill some of those gaps.
I love the idea that as an adult child, as a family member, you can help spur on those interests. I know that my mother-in-law loves to watch every single tennis match, and then there are times when she's having trouble turning on her TV or finding the match or where it is, and that draws us in as a family. But it's also time-consuming. But
Yeah.
if you can control this, so tell me about how a family member controls it. It's in the app,
It's in the
right?
app. So you
Mhm.
basically open the app and you see a real-time view of mom's TV. That it's not like you can't use it to watch together. It refreshes about every second. So it's
Mhm.
sort of it's what's happening on TV. And then there's basically a virtual remote control. So I can put on a channel, I can control the volume, I can turn on the TV, like I can do anything that mom would want to do. And I can actually control the Caavo features as well, all from this app. And I sort of can see what I'm doing, which is another piece of proprietary technology that we have developed, is that sort of real-time view. So I can actually see what I'm doing rather than just like blindly pressing buttons on this virtual remote and hoping that it's working often on mom's TV.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I've seen that demo too. Maybe the first time I met with Caavo, Millen
Mm-hmm.
demonstrated that on the remote and or on the app. So I think that's awesome. That's just really cool. Tell me, do you train families on how to use the app, or is it pretty adaptive?
We have been, so I'd say yes and yes.
Mhm.
It's pretty intuitive. There's sort of these four main things that you can do on the app, which is video call, send photos and chat messages, control the TV, and create reminders. So there's sort of these four areas within the app, and it's pretty simple and intuitive. But we also like to do family training. And it's almost two-sided, right? It's how do they use the app, but we also want to give them a view of what's the TV experience going to be like for mom using Caavo, so that
Mhm.
they can help encourage adoption of this technology. Like, oh, mom, did you know that you can now submit a maintenance request through the TV?
Mm.
And so, like, me as a family member, knowing how she can do that, I can sort of help encourage her to use some of this technology.
Yeah, especially if your mom's calling you and complaining that the toilet's broken again, and you, of
Yes.
course, want to be able to get into action mode and do something about it. This would
Yeah.
be a way that you could remind.
Right,
Yeah.
right, exactly, exactly. And it kind of actually gives, I mean, I think there's benefit for both the community and the adult child, because it sort of gives a view of what's really happening too. Because I can actually go in and see that mom made a maintenance request, somebody responded, somebody resolved the issue. So I can kind of track it without having to like get up in the community's business and make as long as everything is, going as planned, then I don't have to get involved and sort of take time away from the staff.
And so, is that as simple or streamlined as just lifting up the remote, talking into it, and placing a maintenance request?
Yeah, so there's basically a Caavo has a home screen that has sort of these main features on the TV, and one of them says assistance. So I
Mhm.
use I can actually use voice control and say assistance, or I can navigate to that. And then all the resident has to do is hit a button that says request callback. They can use the microphone and attach a little voice memo if they want to. And then
Mhm.
the staff person associated with that request. So we'll allow the community to say, I want somebody to request front desk, maintenance, activities. They can decide who they want it to be. So staff person gets a notification on their Caavo app that a request has come in, and then they can respond.
Yeah, it sounds like it saves a lot of time for sure. Are there any other ways that families can be engaging with Caavo?
One that has been surprising, well, maybe not surprisingly popular, is photo
Mhm.
sharing, and especially
Okay.
memory care. That's been huge. So the family can use the app to share family photos, and then the TV screen essentially becomes a family curated photo album. And so it becomes their screensaver. And we've actually found, we get a report of what channels our residents are using, sort of where their TV is throughout the day. And that photo frame screensaver is like in the top 10,
Hmm.
which makes total sense. But it's super easy for me as a family member to be like, oh, I'm thinking about mom. Like, let me shoot a picture at the kids' baseball game and send a picture. And it's a great way for both of us to sort of stay connected and let her know that I'm still thinking about her often, right?
Yeah, that's great. That's great because they love looking at pictures, and you've got that big, huge screen,
Yeah.
and it's such a good idea to be monopolizing on that screen,
Yeah,
right?
you can keep it fresh. Like, I don't know about you, but when the digital photo frame was like the popular Christmas gift, I like loaded them all up. And then a year later, I said, oh, these are still the photos I loaded last Christmas. So this is nice because it's like every time I send a photo, it gets added automatically. And so it's like this constantly fresh thing that she doesn't have to, connect a USB cable and try to
Yeah.
upload new photos or whatever.
Yep. All those are obstacles to adoption, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So tell me, in your time with Caavo, was there a feature that you thought was going to just be amazing, but it just flopped out on you?
Good question.
Because I know as an entrepreneur, and I started Senior Savvy 4 years ago. You do end up trying a lot of things and trying to figure out what's going to work, what's not going to work. Has something like that come across your desk?
So we actually have roots in consumer electronics. And
Mhm.
so that we initially were selling a different sort of the same core technology, but it was more of a universal TV remote. And we had built a ton of features for that and probably too many. Like it was, I think, just overall complicated for people to understand. So I think that some of that, like trying to describe to people why they needed to add a remote that would sort of take away all the other remotes and simplify their TV. I don't know. It didn't click with everybody. Um, but in senior living, I think we've tried to really streamline and focus on features that we're hearing from communities that they want. So I actually don't have any that have been so far.
You'll have to know.
I know that we definitely we definitely will.
And what kind of technologies or adaptations or additions are you looking to add to Caavo right now?
There's been a lot of things, right? So we're sort of deciding what's gonna be the most helpful. Potentially looking at some integration. So if people have other systems in place for maintenance or that sort of thing, can we integrate our technology with those? So like if someone submits a maintenance request, it automatically flows to their
Yeah.
maintenance ticketing system, that sort of thing. So that's on the list of potential improvements. I feel like it's sort of like taking this core feature set and then looking at how do we layer on to make those even more valuable for folks.
Yeah. And okay, so I have a question now. How does it work when, let's just say you've got Caavo there, but then the resident also wants access to their cable or access to using a Blu-ray player or something? How does that all interface with the remote?
Yeah, so that is the beauty of, back to my show and tell box. So the
Mhm.
back of this box has, you see all these HDMI ports.
Mhm.
So basically you can plug anything into this, which means any cable. We work with any cable provider. You can plug in a Roku or an Apple TV, a DVD player, all of that. And so you basically, this becomes your universal remote that lets you access all of that. So all I have to do is press the voice button and say Dish or DirecTV or
Mhm.
Netflix or Roku, and Caavo does that work. Like Caavo does the switching, takes you directly there. So that is definitely on the resident side in terms of simplifying the operation of the TV. I think that's a
Mhm.
huge value for them in
Yeah.
their sort of experience, right?
Yes, and absolutely. So that's really good to know because people do get very familiar and comfortable with their, local cable. They
Mhm.
want it to be a certain way. So that's really good to know.
Yeah.
And let me just ask you on, is there anything that you wish Caavo was able to do that you're actively working on that you're just trying to like figure out that last piece right now?
No, I don't feel like I have a good answer for that. I feel like it's been super fun moving from consumer world into the senior living space in terms of just solving a real problem and helping staff with that efficiency piece. So I think as we think about the future of the product, a lot of it is about what features are going to really drive the most benefit for staff in terms of
Mhm.
staff efficiency. So I think everything that we're doing right now is really with that lens of staff efficiency and family engagement. And so again, like how do we use this sort of core feature set of video calling and communication and all that stuff to really so what are the sort of small enhancements that we can make right now that will drive big value for staff in terms of productivity and efficiency.
If staff member is wanting to schedule an activity, and let's just say it's a Zoom activity, is it that something that a resident can join from their TV?
So maybe that's something we need to add. We don't have a Zoom integration right now. We do, we can go to YouTube. So if it was like a YouTube live kind of thing, they could join that. We do not have a Zoom integration. I think I'm not like the super deep tech. I also feel like there's a way, like we can tune to a community channel. So if there's something investing on a community channel, we could automatically. So I think there's like some ways we can achieve that outcome that maybe aren't joining the Zooms. Or maybe we can, and I just don't know about it.
Yeah, absolutely. It could happen, right? That's a really good consideration. I know just sometimes with residents trying to join Zoom activities that it can be a challenge. And I've seen some other platforms where they do have an integrated Zoom capability.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I think the resident or the community could have a video, like a Caavo video call going live and not even using Zoom for it, and keep it that way as well.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Could there be multiple family members on at one time? Like, I'm just thinking about Easter and Passover, just within the past weekend. And so, is there an ability to like have mom there virtually?
Right. That's enough. So you're hitting all my roadmap points for me that I didn't cover. So right now it's 1-to-1, but we are looking at adding group video calling capabilities. So yeah, that's one that I wish that we had today. But right now it's 1-to-1.
Yeah, didn't want to put you on the spot. I'm just always curious about how it integrates and where does it stop and where does it begin, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, we could, right, if we're sitting at the dinner table on Easter or Passover, we could turn on that video stream and right to her, so she would feel like she's there. I guess we don't need, so she could sort of be the one there, and
Does it also have? Does it have a telehealth component to it?
In as much as the provider could start a video call to the residents.
Yeah, I think that is going to be one area where things are really going to build. I know I have a lot of clients that will tell me that they actually prefer to do a telehealth appointment now over going to the office, waiting, maybe being around other sick people, just waiting in general, coordinating transportation. So yeah, I think that's huge.
Right. And from a community perspective, I was talking to one and they used a chaplain example specifically. If they employ one person across multiple communities, rather than having that employee try to run between community physically, they could video call in, which would save a ton of time, allow them to, sort of centralize and have one employee that could service all of these different communities geographically.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Well, I always like to kind of wrap up with a fun question. And I want you to look at your device right now, your phone. Okay. What kind of phone are you using?
An iPhone.
Good going. So look at your phone and tell me, out of all the apps on here, besides Caavo, which one do you just love and or you wish you would have invented yourself?
I am a big Peloton user. So we have the Peloton exercise bike, but I use that app a lot. They have these audio outdoor runs, and it's finally starting to get, it's going to get warm in Minnesota maybe in the next week or two, but I've been starting to run outside again. Yeah. And so I use that app for guided runs, and then they do like meditations and stuff. So it's like a very nice holistic fitness app that I use a lot, and really I would have been happy to have invented that as well.
Yeah, I like that too. I've been doing my workout using an app for the past couple of years myself. So, yep, there are just some you can't live without. Oh. Well, Michelle, thank you for joining me here today on Tech Tuesday. I'm a huge fan of what you guys are doing at Caavo. I love how it integrates and how it benefits and so many people, not just the staff or the residents and the family, but it's just truly something that's helping a lot of communities have the type of cohesiveness that Caavo brings. So Well done. Well done.
Thank you for having me.
And yeah, you're welcome. And for everyone there, I just want to thank you for joining us today. If you want to watch this, you can. Even though it's broadcasted live, it will be on our YouTube channel as well as on Facebook and everywhere else on LinkedIn. And you can pick this up and continue watching this tomorrow. And I'll go ahead and see you again here next week.